Welcome to Western Connecticut State University News Election Connection, your live and local source to tonight's 2013 elections. We are broadcasting.
A common phrase we used around the studio was reinventing the wheel. Now, year one, we really didn't have any idea how it was going to go.
It was the first time, so no one really knew if it was really going to work, what was going to happen. I know JC was very confident, and I was very confident.
I graduated last year, and last year was the first time I worked on the election show, and then they had me come back.
JC sold it to me because he's JC, so he has a tendency to be a little overzealous.
I did this years ago at another institution, and it was a great experience. So I wanted to do it here, except I took my time thinking about it because I knew it would be a huge commitment. You know, did I want to own this? So I thought about it for at least a year, and then I floated the idea, I pitched the idea to my department 3 years ago. And I don't know if they realized what it entailed, but I told them what the vision was, and they went, yeah, sure, go for it. I went, I have your blessing? And they went, yeah. And that's when it took off.
We have
61% for Tinsley
and 39.9 in first selecting.
0.9 for who?
For H. Lasser, Howard Lasser, Democrat.
All right. So we've got Brookfield.
Well, this year was a much different experience from last year, simply because everyone in the control room, I think, had a much better grasp of what was going on. You know, for example, Ian picked it up much quicker than I did, and then Chip was a very nice laid-back director. That was really nice. And then of course Siobhan it was nice to have a producer that was actually in the control room every week leading up to the thing, who was 2 steps ahead of where I was, so it was helpful.
The 2 weeks leading up to the show, I was kind of a wreck because I didn't know how it was going to come together. The field teams were like still goofing around, which is fine because I mean we had no actual material to cover at that point. But I was getting very nervous.
Part of the state, Fountain's name rings out as the front runner. But statewide, there is, I think, a bit of a stronger push for Foley. He certainly has got more press profile.
It was 6 interviews that have stirred up a bit of controversy.
So. And Foley and Boughton ran together as the governor and lieutenant governor ticket last time around against Dan Malloy.
And we might be looking for another ticket join up to that effect again.
Well, I think the 11th commandment of Ronald Reagan does not hold up well here in Connecticut tonight, which is, thou shalt not say any ill things of your fellow Republican. But
we had great talent anchors. We had Jackie as talent, Jim Bolano, and Corey Paris, and of course Jay Brower. So we had great anchors. People in the field did a good job, and we added a couple of things. We added a focus group, which was interesting.
You're going to be in charge of muting. When we're about to come to you, mute the sound, but keep the TV on. Yeah. When we're off of you, put the audio on, because you guys are reacting to the show. They need to see the show. I know. All right, we're almost there.
I know.
The focus group during Election Day was quite a fascinating room. We had 14 people consisting of both adults, students, working adults, working students, non-traditional students, a veteran.
John DeRosa. Does everyone say hi?
Hi everybody.
So do me a favor, just tell me, you voted today, obviously. Would you vote for Mark Boughton?
It was a little stiff. It looked like it was almost planned that Ashley would walk up and say, what do you think? They said, well, I think.
Yep.
And I think that what was missing was the energy.
Yep.
And the different points of view.
Maybe you have some live mics and cameras rolling all the time, and then you could do the edits afterwards, right?
Do they think that Governor Malloy has done a good job considering what he's had to go through in the past 4 years?
I've never been a fan of Governor Malloy, so I would like Governor Boughton better.
One of the subject areas that was not picked up by the cameras was the one on immigration.
Right now, I actually have Dave, who's going to tell us pretty much his thoughts on immigration.
Say immigration.
The local students from Danbury had some strong opinions about immigration. And at one point, I happened to make a remark.
They're willing to go ahead and pay the taxes. They're willing to go ahead and obey by the laws, and there's really no problem with them at all.
I'm fine with Americans as long as they're not criminals.
Yeah.
I wanted a discourse. I wanted a discussion, and I really wanted an actual fair and balanced show. So I wanted perspectives, intelligent perspectives from the left and intelligent perspective from the right, and then have that discussion to help make people make up their minds.
I didn't like it that Ted Cruz held our government hostage. And people did get hurt, Jim. People in the outlying areas, that ripple effect that happened when they closed down the
But it wasn't about
national
government shutdown. Remember, the House passed appropriations bills where they could have opened various parts of the government, but it was about Obamacare. And, you know, maybe they want to rethink that and maybe defer it a year, as the Republicans had suggested, the way the rollout is going.
No.
They could have opened that.
As far as anchors were concerned this year, I think last year we had a better mix between different viewpoints. This year, I think it was really it was very left-leaning.
Fiorina and Meg Whitman did not get a fair shot out there in California.
All these people that you talk about, I mean, their stars are rising, but they're not common names. They're not going to go anywhere near the presidential nominations.
I think rotating anchors was a little crazy on our end. For production end, we had to switch out anchors, 8 anchors. I think it's too much. I like continuity-wise what we did this year with 4 consistent anchors.
I loved the anchors. I thought Jackie at one point was just gonna like kill Jim, and it was great. I just loved how, and this is like me seeing it after, I just thought that they had like great chemistry. I thought Corey was really relaxed, which was amazing because he had like 8 people talking in his ear and the anchors in front of him.
But Corey did a pretty good job being even-keeled. I mean, I know Corey's a liberal, but he did an okay job of that.
Anyone want to talk about Ted Cruz?
There are
then Jackie was going a bit crazy at a couple points.
I think as long as we say we could not have prevented it through guns, then we lose.
Sadly, our conservative guy was much too polite, and there was just no balance coming from him because he was just, I thought, at least from what I saw in the control room, it just seemed like he was mincing his words where he should have been a bit more outspoken.
I think it's the opposite. You were saying they're trying to deflect it to mental health and concentrate on gun control. I think they're trying to deflect it onto deflect it away from guns and onto gun control.
No, that's what I meant, away from guns.
Well, I'm saying the opposite of what you say. I'm saying onto mental health.
I didn't think Jim was too kind. I think Jim is you know, they both showed their personalities. Jackie at that time came across rather strong in her opinions.
I do a talk show where I'm always arguing with this Fox News model. I mean, she actually works for Fox. And she comes up with all those regular, predictable, conservative talking points that don't have much basis in fact. And so I've got to argue with her every week. But what I liked mostly about Jim was that he had factual information to back him up.
But the bottom line is, these universities are charging too much. A school like WestConn and the Connecticut school system is still a great bargain. And it's, you know, it's getting tough, but it's really a good, you know, it's the best bang for your buck in education. Talked about the need for it to get a job.
To say that he was too nice, perhaps he was speaking more with real information and facts, and maybe I just trumped him.
I don't understand why it's spiraling out of control. Maybe we need an Affordable College Act for like the Affordable Care Act.
That's a terrific idea.
Wow, national.
Let's do it.
Federal government.
They
do it so well.
Do I see myself doing it again next year? More than likely, actually.
We've come a long way since 2011, because in 2011 we had an idea of where the show was going to go, but it was the first time a lot of the other faculty members on campus were like, how is that going to work? How are you going to broadcast it through the surrounding towns?
Isabel Genius, who is the genius with numbers. Can you give us those unofficial results from this first selectman race in Brookfield?
Yes, looks like we have some unofficial results in Brookfield for the first selectman race.
I've heard one of the technical people from Charter as he walked out, and he said, you know, this looked like a network show. And I felt like the quality of what we were doing that night was far a step above of what I do when I argue with that woman who's on the extreme right.
How are you?
Yes. Very, very good. And as you can see, students are starting to pile into the ballroom right now. We have our social media team behind us right here.
Well, the mood seems to be all right. People are pretty calm right now. And the main thing that I've been hearing is that they've been so comfortable having Mayor Mark through the past 6 terms in office that I get the feeling that they're going to stick to what they...
That's the kind of standards that we hope to keep, you know, raising every year, is to inform the public, have an interesting show, and serve a need that nobody else is. Hartford can't do it, New Haven can't do it, New York City can't do it. We're serving a community in Western Connecticut. Nobody else is doing that, and we hope to do it well.